Chapter 262 has been out for a minute now. Sadly, Gege's sick, so wishing him the best of health during this 2-week break. Meanwhile, I really wanted to gather my thoughts about what are some of the possibilities surrounding Rika going forward. Because on Yuta's side of things, it doesn't look like it's going well at all. So why isn't Rika fighting alongside Yuta? There's probably more than one answer to this, and like I suggest in the title, there still might be a chance she does. After Malevolent Shrine and Infinite Void clash, Yuta shrunk the barrier of his Infinite Void like Gojo had done before. However, inside the barrier, things are going down completely different. Yuta's getting bested by Sukuna. I mean, Yuta couldn't even let off a blue before getting blitzed. And don't think for a second that this parallel isn't intentional, because I'm convinced, like many, that we will soon see for ourselves the answer to Geto's question during this fight. But that's not the point of this video. You see, before we get to see any more of what's going on after Sukuna uses domain amplification to shut down the Limitless, we cut to what looks like Yuta's ring activating. It's a black panel, so it's not really clear, but we see afterwards that Rika has been fully manifested. But at what cost? I mean, I guess my first question was, why wasn't the ring passed on to Gojo's body? Because the ring was mentioned by Yuta most recently when he apologized to Rika for having to move it to his right hand. And I felt that was a subtle way of letting us know that the ring was going to be relevant really soon. And that was reinforced when the first panels of Yuta opening Infinite Void with Gojo's body seemingly kept his left hand out of panel on purpose. But I'm starting to think this might all have been just to throw us off. Back to the question at hand though. It's possible the reason for this is what Kenjaku theorized back in Shibuya during his discussion on the soul with Mahito. He said that the body is the soul and the soul the body after Geto's body's reaction. It's interesting how both Kenjaku and Mahito agree that it might not be the same for everyone, and that their respective curse techniques can lead to them interpreting the soul very differently from each other. What's more interesting though is that Yuta is currently running on Kenjaku's CT, so this same logic should very much apply to him. I'll explain what I mean. Yuta is currently under the 5-minute time restriction where Rika is fully manifested and he has access to all his stored CTs without the need of his own domain. We know the stored technique he's decided to use is Kenjaku's, which interestingly enough we still don't have a name for. But anyway, it looks like there's a chance that the activation of the body hopping CT voids all use of other stored techniques because they're in a different body. And because the current Rika is only like an extension of Yuta's own technique, she abides by these rules as well. But wait, Rika's activation is done through a ring, and if we can agree that Mahito was right in saying, basically, that one's curse technique dictates their perception of what is and isn't possible, then technically that can apply to Yuta as well, in the sense that his copy technique should dictate his capabilities regarding everything that surrounds the CT itself. Basically, if Mahito's curse technique is why Kenjaku's theory doesn't apply to him, then why can't Yuta's technique also dictate his world? I mean, it only makes sense, right? Well, I think it's a bit complicated. You see, Kenjaku's and Mahito's CTs completely revolve around the body and the soul respectively, so their perception of those two things is highly influenced. In Yuta's case, an argument could kind of be made that his copy technique also revolves around the soul and the body, as innate curse techniques are engraved in a user's body and are loosely related to the soul when you consider the domain aspect of it all. Except, it's just not the same. Yuta's perception of the soul and the body, I don't think, is nearly as refined compared to someone like Kenjaku or even Mahito. Also, Kenjaku had knowledge and understanding spanning over 1,000 years when it comes to all of this. Look, we're talking about a lot of complicated CT overlapping here when discussing body hopping via copy in a 6-eyes user's body, so I might be completely off and this could all be debunked next chapter. Just bear with me for a sec. What I'm trying to say is, Yuta doesn't have the same luxury Kenjaku had. Unfortunately, the rest of Yuta's CT does appear to be kind of void once Kenjaku's activates. So basically, Kenjaku's technique, Kenjaku's world, and if the soul is the body and vice versa, then that explains why Rika is so attached to Yuta's corpse and why maybe the ring just won't work with a body that isn't Yuta's. So where do we go from here? Will Rika just cry while Yuta's getting absolutely smoked? Or will Rika fight? Somehow. I mean, how could she? Well, I just talked about how technically with time and enough knowledge, Yuta should be able to bypass all the setbacks that come with using the body hopping CT through copy. Just like Kenjaku and Sukuna in the past have been able to develop workarounds for limits in their own CTs. Like I said before, Yuta doesn't have the luxury of time with the body hopping technique, but he was on the brink of death once, and he'll probably be again soon. What's the correlation there, you may ask? So, having the time to learn and develop the understanding of the intricacies of your curse technique is vital to achieve its peak potential. But when everything is on the line, and it's the matter of life or death, we've seen before a sorcerer's understanding of the way their cursed energy flows as a whole, broadening their perception of their own CT, just reaches another level. Granted, undergoing both of these experiences, it's what's best for a sorcerer, to be fair. But for now, the latter might just be exactly what Yuta needs before he goes out with a bang. Just like Kenjaku imbued aspects of Kaori Itadori CT in what was originally Geto's domain, I wouldn't be surprised if when it matters most, Yuta finally understands how to fully manifest Rika through Infinite Void. I guess kind of teleporting her while the ring is still on his original body. That very well could be his workaround to regain access to Rika and his other CTs if possible. It probably won't be the same, but very similar to how Kenjaku had to figure out how to keep the CTs of previous bodies. Keep in mind, Yuta is a prodigy. No, he's not Gojo, and no, I don't think he'll win, but I truly believe he'll do enough. Enough to prove why taking Gojo's body was worth it. It may not have been the quote-unquote right decision, but it was one he had to make. I think we can see clearly that Yuta won't get much done just using Gojo's bag. But if he can figure out how to bring a fully manifested Rika back into this fight, then I think it's a whole nother story. Rika will unleash her wrath, showing what the Queen of Curses is actually capable of when you mess with Yuta. And Yuta will prove just why exactly he is a prodigy. This one was a fun one to write. Special thanks if you've reached the end of the video. I'm extremely grateful for the love and viewership the channel's been getting lately, and I'm hard at work to bring you guys even more quality content. Comment below if there's something you'd like me to check out. Thanks again for stopping by. Much love and take care. Peace.